lots of potential comments. So I will react on Kentaro introduction, which was very interesting. It's interesting. I completely agree. If you are coming from the field of development and you want to have an impact, and then it completely makes sense to be technology agnostic, or even see if you need technology at all. That's a perfect approach for me. It's just that we are coming from another field. We've never been in development, and our approach is just at looking at what we see in the field. There are thousands and thousands of small NGOs which are trying to help their community, and our idea is that technology could be one more tool they could consider in their daily activity. So our vision is that if you bring them new opportunity to do new things, perhaps they will not catch those, perhaps they will not find that useful for them. That's perfectly okay. But that could open also their mind. That could open the way they reach people or their impact. And that's why I really believe that if you go the other way, rely on existing structure which are responsible for local development of community, I believe it's really important to bring them as much tool as possible. They are aware, and there are lots of community which are already a powerful community radio. How can you build on that and try to find a new channel? So yeah, I agree that I agree that we should not focus on technology, but just consider it as a new tool. And because it's available, it's cheap. There are networks. For me, it's the alone technology that is today usable by a very small NGO. As soon as you need to find donors, you need to discuss with big organizations. You're already cutting like 80, perhaps 80% of the NGOs working with their community.
I think I would actually add also that it's not like we can do design development project without first appreciating what the new technologies can offer, which can impact the design. Because I think mobile technologies, they offer some new drastic opportunities, drastically new opportunities to do things differently. So if you forget about technology and just focus on the development side, you may lose, some important aspects, because if you knew from outset what is possible now, what was not possible 5 years ago or 10 years ago, then your design will be imperfect, And I think that's a fundamental mistake which many people are making, that, okay, let's leave technology aside, let's be agnostic, let's design our project, and then we'll worry about technology at a later stage. And I think that's why most technology projects have failed, because they took technology for granted. They left it to the very end when everything is already designed, everything is set in stone, and then you think, okay, where do you bring technology? Do you want to bring mobile? Do you want to bring internet? Do you want to bring telesensor? And then by the time you start doing it, 90% of impact of technology is lost. So I think you cannot. I agree with you that we should start from the demand side, from the needs of the poor, etc. But unless we know what new technologies can offer, and each of them has different possibilities, unless we have that awareness, designers of the development programs aware of what is possible now, which was not possible yesterday, I think the design will be imperfect, it will be suboptimal. And that's why we cannot take technology for granted. We have to know about the opportunities. We need to focus on them, not to put the cart ahead of the horse, but be informed by the new technologies from the outset.
I agree 100%. I think we need to look at what's already in the hands of the people and what they're already using it for. If you look amongst the youth, there's a concept called side loading, not downloading, not uploading. It's from one phone to the next, using Bluetooth because you don't pay for Bluetooth. So we need to look at what people are already using. They're already using mobile phones in all kinds of innovative ways. They're making it their own in ways that are amazing in some respects. So I think that we can't, I'm not saying that everything needs to be solved using a mobile phone, but I think that we can't discount the possibility that a lot of things can. and will and are. And you know, we come from a technology perspective because we're a technology organization, but we just need to look out the window and see what people are doing, and they're already using this technology in everyday life.
I would say it's there's a methodological challenge that we've at least experienced. So we, of course, recognize the fact that you need to understand the grassroots level. But even for a researcher who comes from an upper caste and goes into the local community, so how does she get actually immersed in the community? I mean, Kentaro talked about immersion, and I don't know if you've experienced similar challenges, and if you hire a designer, and almost like a third of the designers say that they want to or they have difficulties in sort of getting to understand segments that are not similar to themselves, and then so what sort of methods do you use? How do you sort of facilitate this immersion? How do you enable that? And even I think we have one project which is actually called a listening post. So we are sort of talking to a lot of different NGOs in India, and that is supposed to also reflect the grassroots level needs. But yet again, it's a kind of a higher level, or it's a kind of an abstracting level. And is it really the same as being there in the grassroots level and observing, interviewing, understanding the practices? So.
Yeah. So let me respond to a few of the comments so far. Yeah. The first point I'll make is that I actually do think that there is a hype already in mobile phones. It's similar to the telecenter hype of about 5 to 10 years ago, and that's really what I'm kind of arguing against. I think what Stein mentioned earlier was correct about telecenters is that on the one hand you don't want to hype them, but on the other hand you don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater. And I would say the same comment applies with mobile phones. The reason why I say there's hype is that I already hear many examples of cases where people are constraining themselves to a solution that is based on mobile phones because that's what everybody's excited about today. And I'll just give you one example. Recently, I was approached by a large multilateral organization, not the World Bank, and they asked me, we're doing this project. We have funds to do something with mobile phones, and what we're interested in doing is helping with the supply chain of a particular healthcare project in a country in Africa. And I'm not going to name the specifics because some of you may be aware of which project this is. Anyway, it turns out in this particular country there are exactly 2 mobile phone towers, and they are both in the 2 biggest cities in the country. This particular project was about ensuring that healthcare supplies, medicines, reached very rural areas in this particular country which were hundreds of miles away from these 2 cities. And what they wanted was some kind of immediate feedback as to whether the medicine actually reached the villages. And they wanted to do this with mobile phones. And I said, this is a great idea about wanting to understand whether the medicine is reaching the villages, but how are you going to possibly do this with mobile phones when the cell towers are in the cities and the rural villages are hundreds of miles away? Now, I can't say that I have a technology solution that is going to help with this problem. It seems like there are much deeper challenges than anything that we can immediately fix with technology. But it seems pretty clear that this is an instance where, mobile phones, no matter how fantastic they are actually going to help the problem. And what was interesting was that this particular person who was asking me this was constrained by the structure of their organization to use the money for mobile phones to solve this particular problem. So I said, well, there's not much I can tell you. Good luck, and so on. And this is just one example. This is an extreme example, but it's just one example. And I would say this is an illustration of the existing hype around the potential for mobile phones. There's a comment that a number of people have made, which is the immense reach of the mobile phone. I completely agree with that. I mean, there's no doubt that the mobile phone has been history's fastest penetrating consumer electronic device ever. There's no comparison. Nothing else is even close. And so it's certainly the case that mobile phones have a greater reach. But I would say that reach is not development.